Welcome to Control Alt Society podcast. Think back just a few years ago, maybe not even that long, when you wanted some entertainment. You were actively looking for something new, right? Something surprising.
Yeah, deciding which DVD to rent at Blockbuster, maybe.
Exactly. Or hunting through early streaming menus for something you'd never heard of.
And now, you open up Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever service, and it feels like it already knows exactly what you're going to pick.
And the crazy thing is, statistically, that choice is probably something you've already seen. Maybe like 3 times already.
Or more, and you click play.
And you click play almost every time. And that's the really fascinating shift we're digging into today, whether it's Friends on Repeat, another Disney live-action remake, or those remastered video games we played as teenagers.
Oh yeah, the remasters. Big business.
Huge. It feels like the entire digital economy has somehow successfully monetized. Well, comfort. Nostalgia isn't just a feeling anymore, it's become this core business model.
And the algorithms, they seem totally convinced that our hearts, our wallets really, live firmly back in the early 2000s?
Or the 90s or the 80s. It's like a constant look backwards.
And this whole phenomenon, it's definitely not an accident. So this deep dive, what we're calling streaming the past, it's really about trying to understand the psychology behind it, the economics driving it.
And the sheer algorithmic force that keeps pushing it on us.
Exactly. We need to unpack that whole cycle.
Yeah. Why do we as consumers keep reaching for the familiar, the comfortable, instead of maybe, taking a chance on something new and challenging?
And bigger picture, what does this reliance on the past actually tell us about our need for maybe stability or continuity in a world that just feels like it's speeding up like crazy?
Okay, so let's start where the platforms probably did, with that emotional pull. Let's call it the comfort loop.
The comfort loop, I like that.
Because it's not just sentimentality, is it? There's actual research showing that when life feels uncertain or chaotic, people literally reach backward. It's like an emotional self-care thing.
That's precisely it. And that's the key finding that kind of turned into this billion-dollar strategy. Research from the University of Southampton actually found that tapping into nostalgic memories, it literally boosts your mood.
Right.
And it actively reduces feelings of loneliness. So it's almost like instant emotional first aid.
It's mental mac and cheese.
That's perfect. Mental mac and cheese.
It just hits the spot every single time. And the platforms, they saw this immediately. It's like, why on earth would you invest, say, $100 million trying to build some completely new show or movie universe that might just flop?
So you can just license something that already, as you said, lives rent-free in billions of minds.
Exactly. Content that people already love.
Precisely. And that's why shows like The Office, years after they finished, still completely dominate streaming hours. It's why franchises like Harry Potter or Breaking Bad, you see them bouncing between services.
They're guaranteed eyeballs. Guaranteed engagement magnets.
Absolutely. We're not just streaming shows anymore. We're kind of binge-watching our own emotional anchors.
Okay, so that's the emotional angle, the why we click. But how much actual money is riding on this? That brings us to the business side of remembering.
Right. Nostalgia, it's not just a side dish anymore. It's been formalized as a full-fledged growth strategy.
A growth strategy. How so?
Well, media executives, they actually have a term for it. They call it IP mining.
IP mining.
Yeah. They are literally digging up familiar franchises, familiar intellectual property. Maybe they polish it up a bit, better graphics for a game, or add a couple of new celebrity cameos to a reboot, and then they sell it back to us, often marketed as something new.
IP mining. That sounds pretty calculated. What does that actually mean for, like, a studio's bottom line?
It means they're pulling out the maximum predictable value from stuff they already own. The strategy, you see, it's safe. It's relatively cheap compared to creating something truly original from scratch.
Less risk.
Much less risk. And it practically guarantees social media momentum. A sequel gives you instant brand recognition, right? And a big reboot. That absolutely guarantees people will be talking about it online, good or bad.
Yeah, you see that with Disney's constant stream of live-action remakes.
Yeah.
Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid. It feels less like a creative decision and more like following a very, very profitable formula.
Exactly. It's an economic equation.
But wait a minute, isn't there a risk there? don't audiences eventually get tired of this? You hear people talk about remake fatigue. Are we getting bored of the same stories?
That's the big question. The long-term tension, absolutely. But right now, the immediate formula is just so reliable that it seems to override that creative risk, at least for the moment. Because whether it's a Disney remake or, say, a huge video game remaster like for Resident Evil or Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah, those sell like crazy.
they do.
Yeah.
And what they're selling isn't just shinier graphics. They're selling you a tangible reminder, a connection to the person you were when you first played that game or saw that movie.
So the ultimate goal for big tech here, it's that nostalgia equals predictable engagement. They know you'll probably click that familiar title, you'll watch it or play it.
And those predictable clicks, that predictable time spent, that translates directly into reliable advertising revenue or keeping you subscribed. It's all about reducing churn.
Predictability. Okay, that seems key.
It is. So if predictable engagement is the main financial goal, how does the whole system enforce that? And that brings us right to the algorithms themselves. Why do they seem to love the past so much?
Right, because we kind of know that streaming algorithms, they aren't really optimized for helping us discover something totally weird and new, are they?
Not primarily, no.
They seem optimized for one main thing: maximizing the time you spend on the platform. Keep you watching, keep you scrolling.
Exactly. And the most reliable way to maximize that time spent, which crucially reduces churn, the absolute nightmare for any subscription service, is familiarity.
People stick with what they know.
The data really backs this up strongly. Spotify's numbers, for instance, they show that users return overwhelmingly to music they first loved between the ages of about 13 and 23.
Wow, that's specific.
Yeah, it seems to be this critical emotional wiring window. It's when your musical taste gets kind of hard-coded.
So your main musical identity was basically set before you could even legally rent a car.
Pretty much. And Netflix, they found something similar. Users who actively rewatch old shows, their comfort shows, they churn significantly less often than people who are always just hunting for the next new release.
Old shows are sticky.
Very sticky.
So the system itself, it's kind of quietly feeding us our own history back to us. You might think you're choosing that comfort show, but maybe the algorithm is really choosing it for you.
Based on what you loved years ago. Based on viewing habits you might have had back when you, I don't know, had a flip phone.
Oh, maybe.
And this is what some people are starting to call digital nostalgia farming. The system selects that comfort content because it keeps you engaged, keeps you inside its digital walls.
It's farming our memories.
In a way, yeah. Personalization isn't just about recommending the next logical thing. It's about making the present feel incredibly safe, maybe less scary, but constantly reminding you of a past you found comfortable.
Okay, if every platform is essentially fighting for our attention by selling us back our own memories, that does raise some pretty big cultural questions, doesn't it? About, where does creativity go from here?
It really does. And the immediate drawback seems pretty clear. While nostalgia feels cozy and nice, this over-reliance on reboots, remakes, endless 80s music samples, it does risk trapping culture in this kind of creative feedback loop.
Right, like a snake eating its own tail.
Kind of. Creativity might flatten out because the familiar always seems to win the engagement battle. If that happens, platforms might just stop taking risks on genuinely new ideas, new IP, because the odds just feel stacked against it from the start.
That's definitely the risk. But, okay, there must be a nuance here, right? Because some nostalgic things do feel fresh.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the crucial point. The most successful plays, the ones that really resonate, they understand this tension. They don't just copy the past wholesale. They manage to successfully remix it.
Remix it. Okay,
That fusion, that blend is the difference maker. Think about Stranger Things. That show wasn't just a massive hit because it was like a checklist of 80s movie references.
No, it had its own story, its own vibe.
Exactly. It worked because it fused those familiar old aesthetics, the music, the fashion, the film styles, with completely new dynamic energy. It had contemporary storytelling, compelling new characters.
So it's like using the past as building blocks, not just tracing paper.
That's a great way to put it. It's what some call retrofuturism. It's the art of making yesterday feel exciting again, maybe even feel like tomorrow. It gives you that essential hit of comforting nostalgia, but it still manages to genuinely surprise you.
That makes sense. Okay, let's circle back for a second, back to the core emotional reason why we keep hitting play again. Because ultimately, rewatching something, it feels like it's about more than just killing time, right? It feels like it connects to identity.
Absolutely. When you rewatch a show you love or replay a game, You're not just re-experiencing the content. It often feels like a reunion. A reunion with the version of yourself who first saw it or played it.
Ah, yeah, I feel that.
There's actually a psychological term for this, autobiographical anchoring.
Autobiographical anchoring.
Okay.
That sounds a bit academic. Break that down for us.
It basically means that your media history, the songs you obsessed over, the shows you binge-watched with friends, the games that defined your teenage years, that history becomes deeply intertwined, almost fused with your personal story. Your memories.
So the theme tune to your favorite childhood cartoon isn't just a tune, it's like a direct link back to being 7 years old.
Precisely. And the streaming platforms, they get this. They realize they aren't just selling you entertainment. They're selling you access to your own personal timeline, access to those anchors.
And they profit from keeping that timeline readily available.
Handsomely. Every single time you or I hit continue watching on that sitcom from 5, 10 years ago, we're paying for something much deeper than just the show itself. We're paying for that feeling of comfort, yes, but also for continuity, and maybe even for a sense of control in a world that feels like it's constantly changing too fast.
Control. That's interesting. Like, the world is chaotic, but at least I know exactly how this episode of Friends ends.
Exactly. It's a small island of predictability.
And that desire for comfort, continuity, control,
Yeah.
that high-value emotional commodity, it's now pushing the whole industry way beyond just recycling old TV shows, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Nostalgia has become so valuable, it's moved from distribution into actual manufacturing.
Manufacturing nostalgia.
Well, you see the obvious stuff, like retro aesthetics everywhere. Y2K fashion is back. 80s design is all over social media feeds.
Visual cues.
Yes, but the really big, maybe slightly unnerving shift is bringing AI into it. Technology isn't just finding old stuff for us anymore. It's starting to actively manufacture new nostalgic experiences.
Whoa, okay. Give us an example of that manufacturing process.
Think about AI tools being used to revive lost voices, creating new Beatles songs from old demo tapes, or generating posthumous rap verses for artists like Tupac or Elvis mashups.
Yeah, I've heard about those. It feels a bit strange.
It does. We're moving from passively consuming the past to actively, technologically generating it, creating new archival material that never actually existed.
That is a powerful synthesis. So the final shift isn't just that they found our old favorite shows, is that technology might soon be able to just i- invent our next favorite nostalgic memory from scratch.
Potentially. The past is no longer just something we remember or revisit. It's becoming this manufactured emotional product. Something we stream, yes, but also something we remix, subscribe to, and that can constantly regenerate itself in new forms.
Wow. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive then, maybe the core question isn't just why big tech keeps selling us nostalgia so effectively.
Maybe the real question we need to sit with is why we, the audience, keep buying it so readily. Is it purely about the comfort of predictability? Or is it something deeper, like a longing for stories where we feel safe because we already know the ending?
It seems very likely that nostalgia is one of our main emotional tools now for just coping.
Yeah.
Coping with the sheer speed and uncertainty of modern life.
It's like a way of saying, okay, the world outside has changed dramatically, maybe in ways I don't fully like or understand, but at least this feeling, this show, this song, it still feels exactly the same. It's an anchor.
Yeah, a constant in the chaos.
And maybe next time you find yourself binge watching those reruns tonight, just remember, you're ultimately kind of binge watching yourself, checking in with who you used to be.
That's a really interesting thought to end on. Okay, so we want to leave you, the listener, with maybe 2 final thoughts to mull over. First, what is your ultimate comfort watch? That one song or show or game that just instantly teleports you back to a specific, maybe safer moment in time.
And second, looking at the culture around you right now, all the remakes, the reboots, the samples, do you feel like we're genuinely trapped in the past because the familiar always wins out? Or do you think culture is actually getting pretty good at remixing it, using that past to create something genuinely surprising and new?